So welcome to our third webinars focusing on transition remote to online instructional video production. And this webinar is empowered by the Division of Teaching Excellence and Innovation. And we are going to offer workshops every Monday and Thursdays throughout the summer, 90 minutes from 1 o'clock to 2:30. The first 1 hour will be more about talking about a topic, and the 30 minutes will be breakout. The reason why we want to have 30 minutes breakout activity is because not every faculty will have the same questions, or their readiness level may not be the same. So by breaking out the group may be able to help you better learning about the subject. There are 4 things we are going to prepare throughout the summer. This particular thing, each thing will have 4 different workshops, Monday and Thursday. So we already delivered 2 workshops last week. The recording will be available very soon in our YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about simple video editing strategies with Adobe Premiere Rush. So today's agenda will be, we're going to do a simple introduction, discussion, and polls first. And then we're going to have a faculty member, Professor Karna Wang from Social Sciences. We're going to talk about how do you enhance student learning through videos. And our wonderful video producer, Natalie will show you how to edit the video using Premiere Rush. And then, you'll have some opportunity to ask questions before the breakouts. So this is our wonderful presenter of today. Let's give them a round of applause to start today's session. So I'm going to stop share, and Natalie, you can start your session by sharing your screen and unmute yourself. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Megan. So hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Hadland. I'm the video producer at DTEI. I feel like I'm probably now becoming a familiar face to a lot of members here, especially if you came to our workshops last weekend. But if you haven't seen me before, then I'm so happy to have you here today. So before we go into presentations, I'm just going to share my screen and launch a couple more polls just so I can kind of get an idea of how everyone's feeling about video editing. I know Megan just did a poll kind of with the emojis asking everyone, how are you feeling about video editing? But I also want to ask, how comfortable are you with video editing? So let me launch this poll. And just to kind of gauge, are you feeling really comfortable? Like you got this? This workshop's just to kind of sharpen your skills or learn about a new video editor. All right, I'm seeing everyone come in. Oh, and we have some people who have never edited videos before. So I'm really excited because you're going to start learning on a really, really great piece of software. So I see 18 out of 20 people. I think that's pretty much everyone. So I'm going to share the results. And this is great. We have participants all over the comfort level spectrum here. We've got a lot of people who are comfortable. One person's very comfortable. Some people are neutral. So this is great. And I hope there's something everyone can take away from today's workshop. So my next poll, I just want to kind of now get a sense of what kinds of video editors have people used before, because there are a lot of different video editors out there. I think personally, I've edited on 7 different pieces of software in my career at UCI today. So I'm going to launch this poll. And what I have here, these are some of the most common video editors, and there are way more than these. I know now they're like cloud-based subscription editors, but some of the biggest ones are the Yuja video editor that I know a lot of people have played around with. iMovie, OpenShot is a free open source one. Premiere Rush is what we're going to be teaching today. Premiere Pro is like the more heavy duty version of Premiere Rush, and that's what I primarily edit on in my career. Camtasia is really, really popular with a lot of instructors. DaVinci Resolve is a completely free software that's really popular in the industry. Same with Final Cut Pro. That one's not free, but that's also a big one that a lot of studios use to edit movies on. And there are a myriad of others. If anyone's ever heard of Avid, or I know WeVideo is one. So there are a lot of other options. So I see Yuja and iMovie are by far the the most used ones, probably because Yuja is part of, the UCI tools we promote here. And also I've taught a lot of instructors on iMovie. iMovie actually works a lot like Premiere Rush. So if you've edited on iMovie, you're already in a great position for today's workshop. We're kind of focusing on Premiere Rush because it's free for everyone at UCI, whether you're on a Mac or a PC. The thing with iMovie, while it is a great piece of software, it is Mac only. So it's kind of tough to do workshops that maybe are a little more exclusionary to people who use PCs. And also Premiere Rush has a lot more functionality than iMovie too. So I'm really excited we're going to get to start learning that. Thank you so much, everyone, for answering those polls. I think that gave us a really great picture of our participants today. I love that we have a bunch of different levels of familiarity with video editors and comfort levels of editing, and people want to learn all sorts of different things. That makes me really, really excited. And we're going to get into that. But first, we've got a wonderful guest speaker today. But today, our guest speaker is Karna Wong, and Karna has become one of our superstar video editors over the past year. I can't even describe how much she has amazed us with the videos she is producing. And she is going to talk about her lessons learned. She's going to show you a bunch of examples of videos she's made herself. And I am so, so, so excited and honored to have her here for this workshop today. So I am going to mute my microphone and turn it over to Karna.
Thank you, Natalie. Thanks, Megan and Natalie, for having me here. I love DTEI trainings, and I think I go to office hours all the time. I'm my 911 helpline, and I learned so much from Natalie about video editing. As my quote showed, I was new to video editing during COVID, and there was a lot of challenges during COVID. I remember when I took the Digital Learning Institute training and we had presentations at the end, I showed this slide to show the context of what students and faculty are going through, and their families and communities. Everything from not just COVID, but wildfires. I had students who had to evacuate. We had contentious presidential elections, not one, but two impeachment trials, violent riots in the Capitol, racial strife and protests. Students are facing economic instability, domestic violence is on the rise. They're having physical and mental health issues. So I appreciate you being here. And I know you're dedicated teachers if you're here in the summer and in the afternoon to talk about ways to improve your classes. And I know that everyone feels like they have so much on their plate, but I hope that video editing doesn't put more on your plate, but helps you do things differently, more creatively, and maybe even make your workload easier. That's what I'd hope. And I know Nat mentioned that I'm going to show different examples of videos. So one of the slides that Natalie created shows some different types of videos. Let me go to that. Okay, so I'm going to show some different types of videos that I've done. I know Natalie was so nice in her introduction, but I am not an expert. I feel like I, like you, am just learning so much about video editing, but I actually enjoy it. And I've done different types. Live lecture, where I have just recorded my lecture for class live, and then I've posted it up for students who were not able to attend. And I just do some light editing, like trimming the beginning or end, or if we had a break, I would do some minimal editing for that. I've also done live discussion sessions. So I'm not lecturing because I have pre-recorded lecture videos that students have watched. This would just be interaction with students, going over their questions about assignments, trying to get them interested about the material, throwing out some interesting question where they might have different opinions about some of the material we've gone over. I've done pre-recorded lecture videos too. And that's kind of more intensive but editing, but it actually helped me because I was dreading taping my videos. And once I was learning editing, I was able to I can always just fix that later. I can replace that slide later, or I can re-record and just replace that segment. And so it actually alleviated stress for me rather than just getting all wrapped up in perfectionism. Also, we've done some fun videos where we just have guest speaker presentations, student presentations, featuring some creative projects from our classes. And so those are really fun to have. And during this pandemic time, it's been really fun to watch, even in class, to show them. And the helpful hints video is probably something that maybe Natalie and Megan have shown with you before, so we can go over a little bit about how you could record some tutorial videos. I found myself in some of my classes, I teach some things over and over again. So it was great to record just a little tutorial where I could post that up in a YouTube video, or at least post it again and again in my classes and have that available for many different classes. Okay, so let me end this. Let me see if I can, there, good. And let's show some sample videos. So I'll go to my courses. And the first one I wanted to show was a live lecture. And I have a statistics class. And I post up all my lectures in Yuja. I record it in Zoom, edit in iMovie, although I'm learning Premiere Rush too. And then I post up in Yuja. And I'm gonna show an example. I'm sorry, it takes a little bit to load, especially since I'm on Zoom too. So I'm going to show a live video, and then I'll also show a pre-recorded video so you could sort of see the difference. And I'll also show a discussion section video. Okay, here, phew. So this one is.
Hi, everyone. Let's get started. Hi, Emmanuel. Hi, Eddie.
Hello.
This week, we will continue talking about Chapter 10. We'll do a little bit of review of Chapter 9, and then we'll move on to Chapters 11 and 12. I want to say congratulations to everyone for finishing the midterm. Yay. Take a deep breath. You got through it.
I'll be speeding through some of this, and just to let you know, those Emmanuel and Eddie are the LA's learning assistants.
You can see your, so this week we'll go over.
I usually have some resources that I share with the students.
I also wanted to provide some information about the Dream Center, and Emmanuel provided the link to that. Even though the Dream Center is not open, which is really sad because it's a really nice place for students to meet and study. So once campus is opened up again, please visit the Dream Center. But for now, you can make an appointment with either the director, assistant.
Okay, then
Yes.
also.
So this announcement is regarding Monday of week 8. So during our lecture, we'll be having a small activity, little contest for you guys to lessen the stress of the midterms. We'll be providing a contest of a Zoom virtual background or profile picture. And you can choose your favorite movie, TV show, or Netflix series. And you don't have to have your camera on, but we'll be voting as a class, and whoever.
And outliers, so there are no outliers.
Okay, and then I usually go over most commonly missed questions on the homework. So this is an example of a video that is live. So then I'll also show what a pre-recorded video looks like. So I'm going to look at week 8. This is for another class in the Urban Planning and Public Policy Department. And this is a pre-recorded video on transportation policy.
Hi students, this is Professor Wong.
Today's lecture is on transportation policy. Let's think about different modes or types of transportation and future. Some modes of transportation. Create a list of at least 5 or more options: past, present, and future. humans just walked as a mode of transportation. Maybe I should have even added swim. 150 to 250 miles per hour. Nowadays, there are electric cars. Right-hand side, the bus station with the white roof.
Okay, so this example of pre-recorded video. And then in the same class, which is urban planning class, I'll show a discussion session. And during COVID, we started out with the learning assistants doing an icebreaker usually, especially since students couldn't socialize in class. So it gave them an opportunity to socialize in their class. So this one, I'll show week 5. Also, when I post my videos, I go with the most recent one. So week 10 will be at the top and I'll go down the bottom that way. So I'll do week 5.
All right, hey guys, I hope everyone's doing well. So for today's icebreaker, imagine there's a zombie apocalypse coming. What we want to know is who are the 3 people you would want on your team, and they can be fictional or they can be real.
So Yvonne and Sergio, tell me who you picked and who did Brianna pick?
I can go. I chose Rick because I was just like, well, maybe he can take us to like another universe, another dimension, and then I chose Storm.
So this is our icebreaker, and then this is a live discussion. And so again, I would announce some resources
on campus. Wanted to let you know about the Disability Service Center. If you are feeling stressed, this is midterms time. If you may realize maybe I have test anxiety and you want to look into how would I find out if I have test anxiety and may qualify for some accommodations. You can.
And then we would get into things like, I would always announce when the next assignments were due. And then we would go over the quiz answers. And then students had something like a discussion question for the week. We'd go over like the policy paper, and they'd have a discussion question for the week, and we would talk about that in breakout groups. So that's what the live discussion would
assess why one policy may be better.
Students could ask questions about their paper also. Okay, so we went over live lecture, pre-recorded live discussion. I can also show, sometimes we just have some videos about our course. Like we had poster presentations when it was non-COVID time. So this assignment I transformed to be for students to create websites instead. We've also done in-class activities, and it was really nice to have videos of that. So during COVID time, students could just watch videos. These are the teams of TAs. There are 2 teams of TAs, and students would watch and take notes for observation about which team was more successful than the other. And so we had team 1 of a group of TAs and then team 2. So I can forward a little bit to, and they did this marshmallow challenge trying to create the tallest structure. And I would,
Yes.
thank you. I'll measure it.
Good job, team.
I would say 16 inches, wouldn't you say? 16? Yeah. 16? Great job. Thank you, team 1. Will you help me clean up the Team 1. Come on up, Team 1. Come on up, Team 1. Yeah, the second team, their structure fell down, which is kind of sad. And the last thing I'll show is I created my first YouTube channel on Dr. Wong's Helpful Hints. And I start out with like Zoom basics, how to use Google Scholar, how to use Zotero, what is OWL Purdue for citations, how to download census data, how to create a table of contents in Microsoft Word and Google Docs, how to create a Google site, and how to do transcriptions. Some of these things are helpful for any student. Some of these things were related to a particular assignment in one of my classes, but I thought I'll just post it up here. And so that way I can use this type of material over and over again. And so these look like this. I won't show the whole thing.
Hi students, this is Professor Wong.
Today's Helpful Hints is on automating table of contents. I will teach you how to create an automatic table of contents in Microsoft Word and Google Docs. I will also show you how to create a table of figures. You would insert a caption and also be able to cross-reference this table of figures in your text. In Microsoft Word, here's where you would select Table of Contents.
Okay, so I'll stop there, and I just want to get some reactions or thoughts from everyone. Is there some things in your class where you felt that you say to students over and over again, so you thought it would be useful to maybe record it as a short segment and be able to have that video?
So I agree, in my work, we are counseling the same thing, over and over again, what's recessive, what's dominant. So this would be really helpful where you can just play it and send them the link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you could just think about some video editing is very simple of like, I'm just going to trim the beginning and end and like the breaks. You could just do that for some of your videos. But then you can really get into having like, I have a lot of embedded YouTube videos within my videos to show, and students really like that. They enjoy watching those. And also students, you notice when we have discussion section, if some student couldn't make it, especially if they're in another time zone, they're still watching the icebreaker, about zombie apocalypse and still getting a good laugh. So other thoughts? The idea of having maybe guest speakers that you've had to come and you have videos of that. I'll share my screen again. I had some guest speakers and I've recorded those.
Tell us about your professional report.
So the research question was, how does public sexual harassment in the Pico Union and Westlake communities impact the use and perception of public spaces?
What methods did you use for the professional report?
Some of the methods that I used for my PR were quantitative surveys of community members, usually with new service in the new service area of Pico Union and Westlake. A series of 3 field observations, one for Pico Union, Westlake South, and Westlake North, and data analysis. So that was demographic and.
All right, we have a question in the chat, actually. Catherine asks, are you able to include PowerPoint slides while you are recording, or does that need to be added through editing?
I use Zoom and share my screen, and I usually set in Zoom that I do not want to show my face, but I do pre-record greetings. So I say, hi students, this is Professor Wong. And so like, I only have to really like brush my hair once and have those greetings ready. And I actually was trying to get creative, and I would choose different virtual backgrounds, and I try to match my outfit to the virtual background. So like, if I had the San Francisco background, I'd be wearing a like Oakland Warriors, which is the basketball team, t-shirt. If I had a UCLA background, I'd wear a UCLA sweatshirt. If I have the UCI graduation cap and gown with the UCI logo in the back. One time they have these logos, the backgrounds with like snow scenes. So I'd wear a puffer jacket and a ski hat and those types of things. And usually always end with the graduation shot too. So I'd show my face in the beginning, but otherwise I would just show just the PowerPoint, share the PowerPoint in Zoom. Somebody asked about the virtual backgrounds. You go into where it says, where you show your video, and it has a little arrow, a caret, and you click on that and you can choose select virtual backgrounds. And then you can download a lot of virtual backgrounds, and you can upload your own pictures too. I thought about being really creative, and I'm thinking about using some of my pictures that where I've traveled to different places and have that in the background, and maybe have a contest to see how many locations students can guess which cities.
All right, was there anything else you wanted to say, Karna, before we move on?
No, I just wanted to give some samples, and I even have more, so maybe in the breakout we can talk more about it. Thank you.
All right, and especially if you don't have the Premiere software yet, or you're not ready to start quite playing around with it, then please, I would recommend joining Karna's breakout room, where she'll be talking way more in depth about all the cool things she's done, how to do them, ideas for your own videos, and that'll be in the main meeting space. But now I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to move on to getting started with Adobe Premiere Rush. I'm going to try to move through this as quickly as I can so we can get to our breakout rooms eventually, because this will seem like a lot of information. But I also just want to mention that in today's workshop, I'm going to be doing a really basic tutorial of just what the program looks like when you first open it, kind of how you're going to use it, and how to do those very basic edits that Karna was talking about, like trimming the beginnings and endings of your videos, or cutting out like discussion parts of a video, or maybe just replacing a single slide. So we're going to cover just kind of basic cleanup techniques today, and then far more advanced techniques for like how to do templates and graphics and adding text and visuals, and that'll be all on Thursday. So as we've mentioned many times across these workshops, why do you want to edit your videos? Because I know this can be daunting, and a lot of instructors can think like, no, this is too much work, I don't have time for this. But again, I always say, think of video editing as a time, not a time waster, but as a time saver. And once you get the hang of video editing, it's really going to save you time in the long run. As Karna just said with her helpful hints videos, that was something she'd have to teach again and again and again. But now she has this video. She made it once, and now every time she needs to teach that subject, she can just send that video out to whoever needs it. Again, as she has done, you can repurpose previously recorded lecture videos, be they asynchronous or synchronous, kind of cutting out those live parts you don't want shown in a later video, or just maybe taking a long lecture and chopping it up into smaller sections. You can always continue to improve your videos. You can take something you've already recorded and maybe say, oh, it's maybe a little bland in this one area. I stayed on a slide for way too long. Maybe I can add another visual, or maybe I can do something to kind of make it a little more exciting for my students. And again, you can increase the longevity of your videos. So the more time you put into making like this nicely produced video, you can use it 5 years, 10 years down the line. Videos I made 10 years ago when I started at UCI are still being used in some classes because you can't tell that they were filmed back in 2011. They look just as good as something you could make now because we really kind of put in that little extra bit of effort to make them really engaging and fun. And the basic video edit, some of the things we're going to cover in today's Premiere Rush tutorial. These are not the little extra flair techniques. These are just the simple things if you want to clean up or repurpose a video or just kind of get started, get your feet wet with video editing, would be to trim the beginnings and the endings of your video, get rid of some of that dead space when you maybe start a Zoom recording, trim portions from the middle of a video as we talked about. Maybe you had some discussion section with a student and you don't want that part shown, or maybe you were presenting a slide and you flubbed. It was more than something you want to kind of let slide in a video and you want to just kind of chop out that little mistake and keep going. You can combine multiple video clips. So maybe there is a fair use video or a portion of a video you wanted to show and then talk about. You can take the video clip you have and put it into the middle of one of your videos, or put it next to then an explainer video where you talk about what you want your students to take away from that video clip. As we said, you can chop a long video up into smaller videos because again, 50 minutes is a little too long for students to sit and watch something that's been pre-recorded. Attention spans aren't the same online as they are in the classroom. So being able to give them bite-sized videos instead of just a couple really long videos is really going to increase the amount of video time they watch in your class. And again, crop unwanted visual information. This could be maybe a student's camera turned on and you're still talking, but their picture appears in the corner and you want to protect their privacy. You can edit their little video out of the corner of the final video, or if you maybe had the date at the front of one of your lectures and you don't want students to know, like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to see that I gave this lecture on, July of 2020. I want them to think I just recorded it. You can, maybe get rid of that. You could replace it with a PowerPoint slide. You could create a new PowerPoint slide that doesn't have the date and actually just use that to cover up the image in the video where the slide you don't want showing is. And lastly, clean up audio. And this cleanup audio, I debated whether I should include that in the advanced techniques, but because audio is so important for all of our videos, I do want to try to cover it here because that is something you should do with every video, or at least just kind of scrub through and make sure that the audio quality of your video is good. We want to make sure to pay attention to that. And now there are 5 steps to edit a video. That sounds like a lot, don't worry. I just wanted to make sure I covered from start to finish, what is the process going to look like when you decide you want to edit your videos you've recorded. So first, you need to download the raw video file. This could be downloading a Zoom recording if you recorded to the cloud, or downloading a Yuja video if you use the Yuja software capture station. Now, if you recorded a video that's already on your desktop, like you choose the record locally option in Zoom, or you used Camtasia, or maybe even you used your own camera, then you don't have to download anything. This first step just means that you need to take the files you want to edit and get them actually on your computer or on your hard drive. Now that you have your footage on your computer, you want to import the footage into your video editor so you can edit it. And this is a really easy step. With a lot of video editors, it's as simple as just dragging and dropping from your desktop or from a folder into the video editor. But in our timeline, we have our video on our computer. Now we want to give it to our video editor so we can edit it. The third step is editing, where you're actually going to make all of your changes. You can use whatever software you're most comfortable with. Of course, we are teaching Adobe Premiere Rush, but if you're already an iMovie user and you really like iMovie, then you can stick with iMovie. If you use Camtasia, you really like that, whatever's most easiest for you is the best option. But if you're looking to go to something new, or if you've never edited videos before, then Adobe Premiere Rush is a really, really great option for a video editor. So after you've edited your video, you've made your cuts, you've put in the PowerPoint slides you want to replace, you've done everything and you're ready to go, the next step is going to be to export your video. And this is the last step you'll do in your video editor. And it's essentially, it's saving your new video with all the edits you've made. It's like you've taken all these pieces and now we're going to bake them into a single video file, which will be a single MP4 video file that will be saved to your local computer. And now the last step is you've got this edited video, you're super happy with it, but now you want to share it with your students. They can't see it on your local computer, so it will be to upload it to your Usia page, your Canvas site. If you're using a YouTube channel like Dr. Wong, you could upload it there. But that will be then the last step, is to take everything you've done and now put it out to share it with the world, or just your students, because of course, you know, we want to protect our own copyright as well. Now we'll move into how do you do this? How are you going to edit your videos? And this is going to be our big introduction to editing with Premiere Rush. And why did we choose Premiere Rush? Because it's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud, meaning that all UCI faculty, staff, and students have access to free Adobe Creative Cloud. And within that, Rush is one of the programs you can use for free. It's really easy to learn. It's really user-friendly. It's got a lot of cool features. It really lets you quickly add that extra production value. And a lot of it, it's intuitive. It might be a little difficult if you've never edited a video before to start learning a new program, but once you kind of play around with it, once you get the hang of it, you're going to find that it really is going to make your life a lot easier. I've been showing this slide at all of our workshops. If you have not downloaded Adobe Creative Cloud yet, don't worry, we're still very happy to have you here. You're going to get a little sneak preview at what it's going to look like when you do download it and start working with it. But if not, there are plenty of instructions on the slide, and Sardar he's going to put the links into the chat for the website from OIT to get the license for Adobe Creative Cloud and the instruction page. It will probably take you a day or so to get the license and download everything. So that's why if you haven't downloaded it already, don't worry, you're not going to have time to get it in time for our breakout rooms later. But it is simple to get that license, and then you have access to everything like Photoshop and After Effects and InDesign. If you really like Rush and it gets those creative juices flowing and you're like, I want to create everything now. And now, before we really get into the fun of video editing, I want to kind of preface it with this slide I created of the main shortcuts, the main keys you're going to want to use in Adobe Premiere Rush. And I wanted to create this slide just so you have it as a reference for later as we start learning the program, and so that as you go out after this workshop and start editing on your own, you can still quickly reference this slide in case you forget these shortcuts. There's also a link at the top of this slide that we'll put in the chat to a Premiere Rush shortcut and tip guide we've developed. It's just a very short document that has the main shortcut keys that work with Adobe Premiere Rush and a couple of helpful tips. So there are a lot more shortcuts in there as well, but again, I wanted to kind of focus on these because shortcut keys are going to be different for different video editors. These keys are not going to be the same in iMovie. They're not going to be the same keys in Camtasia, but these are the ones for Adobe Premiere Rush. And these three are the ones that I use the most, no matter what I'm editing, be it an instructional video, be it a music video, or even a movie, because I edit a lot of different things. And the first one is going to be your split clip or add edit. And that's going to be the S key. And this is literally like your pair of scissors. So as we talk about trimming, as we talk about cutting things out of the middle of your video, you think of having your video as like a physical piece of film, and you're taking a pair of scissors and we're going to cut things out of it. And that will be using the S key to make those cuts. You're also going to want to play and pause your video, and that's going to be with the space bar. This is pretty universal amongst most video editors, but as you're going through, you're going to want to check to see, oh, do I like the way I made that edit? Or you're going to want to watch through to find maybe the next thing you want to edit out. Spacebar is always going to be how you start playing and pausing your video. And the last thing you're going to want to do is zooming in and out of your timeline. And I'm going to show you what all of this looks like shortly, but those are going to be your plus key and your minus key. So these are going to be the three most important commands you're going to want to do in the video editor. And that's why I wanted to show you these before we move on to looking at Premiere Rush. But now that we're like, okay, 3 commands, I got that. That's not too difficult. Now let's take a look at what Premiere Rush looks like. So the first time you open Premiere Rush, this is the screen you're going to be greeted with. And it comes with a test video loaded. You see there's a little test video image right there. That comes on everyone's version of Premiere Rush. It's like a little clip of this couple's vacation, but it means that if you don't have a video you've shot yourself that you want to edit yet, there's already a little bit of a video that you can kind of play around with and test some of these tools. However, when you want to create your own video, you will click the Create a New Project button in the upper right corner. So that button right there that says Create a New Project, and it'll always be really easy to spot because it'll always have this big blue highlight around it. And as you start creating videos, your home screen is going to start populating with your projects. So maybe the next time you open Premiere Rush, it won't just be the test video. You're going to see all of the different video projects you've started to edit. And this is going to be how you find your videos. So maybe, you sat down, you spent a little bit of time editing, but you didn't have time to finish the video. You close down the program. The next time you open Premiere Rush, it will autosave and your video will be on this home screen. So when you create a new project, it's going to open a new project. And that'll be where you'll put in all of your videos you want to edit, any assets you may have, like images or videos you want to combine into a clip. But what is that going to look like? What does the face of a video editor actually look like? It looks like this. And if you've never edited a video before, this looks like a lot. I will say this can be kind of a scary image because we've got a lot going on, but I want to break it down into what this is. And the good news is that most video editors have the same layout. So if you edit in Premiere Rush and then first, you move on and someday you edit in Final Cut or iMovie or some other program, they're all going to look a lot like this, and they're all going to essentially operate in the same way. And there are three main portions of this image here that I'm going to point out that are kind of your different spaces of the video editor. So first, on the left-hand side, you see this stack of little video clips. This is called your media bin. This is where everything you might want to work with is stored. So you can think of it as like a literal just box that you've thrown in video clips or images, anything you might want to use. And you can continue to add to this box as you're editing your video. If you think, oh, you know what? I'd really like to add an image to this part of my video. Then you can go and get that image and you'll throw it in your media bin so you can then use it in your project. But I want you to think of this as just like your big folder box of all of your materials. Next is the timeline, and that's this area kind of down at the bottom. And this is your workstation. So we're going to take things out of our media bin. We're going to take videos and images and graphics and anything that we can put into this program that we want to use. And we're going to add them to our timeline. And this can be as simple as just dragging and dropping from the media bin into the timeline. Once we add things to the timeline, now we can move them around. We can cut them up, we can put things on top of one another, but this is our fun little workstation where we can play around. Lastly, you see this big video that's kind of our main focus of our video editor, and this is our preview window. So when we're working in the timeline and we want to watch what we're doing, we want to kind of view what's going on, the preview window shows you what that video is going to look like. And so when we play our video, when we pause it, that's all going to happen in the preview window. This is kind of like our main video player that will show us what's going on in the timeline. And then there are some extra cool tools we can access. There are the effect tools, and these are things like color correction, or if we wanted to add text, or we wanted to crop, or we wanted to clean up audio. And that's why I'm mentioning these little tools in the corner right there in the upper left, because these are your effect shortcuts. And that one that's a second from the bottom that kind of looks like the little spiky image, that is called an audio waveform. And that is the button that will allow you to do audio cleanup. And when you click that button, it will open a panel. And I love that the audio cleanup options in Premiere Rush are really easy. So if you click that little button, You can adjust the volume of your video. So if it's really soft, you can easily just make it much louder. You can see there is a reduce background noise feature that you can toggle. I always just have auto volume on, which will assess your entire video and kind of make sure the levels stay even throughout. So there isn't a part of your video that's really, really quiet. And then someone else talked and it got really loud, and we don't want to hurt our students' ears. So those are just some really, really basic little things you can do to just give a little bit of audio cleanup. So let's say once we've edited our video, now I've shown you kind of the basic overlay of what Rush looks like. The last thing that I want to show you, and I put these in the slides so that you can then reference the slides later, because I'm going to open Adobe Premiere Rush in a minute here, and we're going to actually work through the program. But I did want to just put some of these images in the slides so they can be referenced later. The last thing is, as I mentioned, saving a video. When you have made all your edits in the timeline, you're happy, and maybe it was something simple. Maybe you just wanted to trim the beginnings and endings, but we still need to save that as a new video. And that's going to be with the share button. So as you see up in the very top menu, we're currently in the edit menu because that's kind of bolder. It's got that little underline under it, but next to that is a share button. And what we want to do is we want to, I wish it was called export, it's called share, but we do want to eventually share our video with the world. And when you click that button, it's going to take you to a menu. Oh, there's the share button in case you couldn't see it before. I made it as big as I possibly could. But once you want to share your video and you hit that, it's going to bring you to this screen. And this is where you can do things like rename your video, change where you want to share it. I go into much more detail about this screen in that DTEI Adobe Tips and Shortcuts document that we shared earlier, and that is referenced in this slide. I really just wanted to bring your attention to the export button, which is highlighted in green on this image down in the lower right-hand corner with the number 4 on it. That's going to be the last thing you need to do. So if you've trimmed your video, you hit share, and then you hit this export button down in the very corner. And once that happens, Adobe Premiere Rush is going to do its thing. It's going to start taking everything you've done in the timeline and creating one single video out of all of that. And it might take a little bit of time once you hit that export button. Video files are much larger than, documents or PowerPoints. And so it might take a few minutes depending on the number of edits you made. It might be a complex task for the video editor. So don't think that it's going to be done in a minute. It's going to take a little longer. Instead, what I like to do is once I hit that export button, that's my time to celebrate. Your computer needs to work. So that's when I will get up, take a stretch break, maybe make some tea. That's my little excuse to just, give myself a round of applause and say, I finished my video. Now I'm going to just take a little bit of time to step away from the computer while I let the computer do its job to create that video. And now here's an additional resource slide that I just wanted to include that has, again, our Premiere Rush shortcut and tip guide. I've also created a document that's just a really quick overview on how to turn a PowerPoint slide into an image file. In one of my last workshops, I talked about creating these new PowerPoint slides in case you need to replace a PowerPoint slide in your video. And I realized that not everyone has saved PowerPoint slides as image files. So I made a really quick shortcut or a really quick guide to show you how to do that, because Adobe Premiere Rush needs image files to work with. You can't just take a PowerPoint file and throw it in and think it's going to be able to read your individual slides. And then of course the Premiere Rush tutorials from Adobe. And one last note is, if you are ever in doubt, do a quick internet search. Google is my best friend. And there's so much documentation out there because this is a really popular program. We're not using like some smaller third-party video editor. This is one of the most prominent video editors on the market, and there's so much information out there. So if you ever need to know, really quickly, oh, how do I do this? A quick Google search, and you're gonna have the answer in no time. So I'm gonna stop sharing my main screen. And now I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible, but I did want to give everyone an actual look at what it looks like when I open Premiere Rush. So I'm going to share my full desktop. So let me minimize all of my work, and I'm going to open Adobe Premiere Rush. And now hopefully, since we've just gone over our really quick PowerPoint tutorial, this is now going to look familiar. All right, and as you can see, test video, we still have that guy and his lady friend on their vacation on the beach. And I also started preparing a PowerPoint or a video for Thursday's workshop, but I'm going to create a new project. So if I hit create a new project, now it's going to open up this menu where I can scrub through everything on my computer to try to find the files I want to use. And I created a folder on my desktop specifically for today. So I'm going to just click that. And what I actually have that I made is I have the video file from last Thursday's workshop. So I thought, you know what? Let's edit that together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on that, and you'll see it'll highlight one because it's saying that's the first piece I want to use. If I wanted to add more pieces, I could just click on more. I can navigate around, but pretty much I'm saying these are the pieces I want to start working with. Don't worry, you can always add more videos, more pieces, more anything while you're in the project. Don't think I want that background. So I'm just going to import the one video I want. Going to hit create. All right, and now as you can see, we have got our Adobe Premiere Rush window. The media bin is not always open. That's actually up here. So if I click on the folder, now it opens up that media bin. We can see right now what I've added is I have the sequence, which is the project we're currently working on, and I have the video I added. And if I add any more pieces to this Adobe Premiere Rush project, they're all going to populate in my big media bin. But this is what you're going to see. And now a thing I really like about Premiere Rush is it is intuitive. A lot of it is just clicking, dragging, holding. You're really going to get the feel for it. And it's really difficult to mess something up. So like most programs, it's really easy to undo if you make a mistake. Command Z work the same in this program for like Command Z for undoing a mistake. But we've got our preview window up here. We've got our timeline. And there's this little button over here. And if I hover over it, it says adjust monitor size. And if I click, hold, and drag this, I can make my preview window a little smaller so it's easier for me to work with. And now what you'll see here is on my video, I've got essentially two tracks. I've got a video track, which is on the top, and I have an audio track on the bottom. And if I have my video highlighted, there's this little button on the side over here that says expand audio. And if I click that, it's going to make my audio bigger, which makes it easier for me to see my audio levels, which is helpful for when I'm editing. So it looks pretty spiky, and that's because these are your waveforms. This is actually the waveform of talking or of noise in your video. So it's easy to see when there's silence. It's easy to see, you know, maybe at the beginning, if there's a long bout of silence, I can tell that that means I wasn't really doing anything yet, and I don't want that included in my video. And there are multiple ways to do any task in Adobe Premiere Rush. So I kind of want to say that because you might find a different method or a different way that might work better for you. And I don't want you to say like, oh my gosh, she didn't teach me that way in the workshop. It's because there are probably 3 or 4 ways to do everything. For example, you can expand the audio with this button on the side, or if you right click on a clip, it also brings up the same menu and you can expand your audio from there. But now to go over those 3 main shortcuts that we talked about. First, I've got my video, and let's say I want to play it. That is going to be with the space bar. So if I hit the space bar, and if I hit space bar again, it pauses. And you might notice there's this little blue line right here with the little caret at the top, and that's called your playhead. And the playhead is really important because the playhead shows you where on the timeline you currently are. So as we can see, this is a long video. I don't know quite where I am, but the playhead shows me, oh, I'm right here. And there are even little markers at the top of your timeline telling you how many minutes you're in. So as you can see, I can also click the playhead and drag it along, and it kind of speeds through the video. But let's say you're teaching a class and you knew, oh, at about 15 minutes, you had a discussion with some students and you don't want that included, you can grab your playhead, drag it. And now, well, I'm not sure, this is showing me over an hour of footage. I don't necessarily want to, I know it's around 15 minutes. This is going to be really hard to figure out exactly where it is. And this is now where the zoom in, zoom out feature is. So as I said before, if you want to zoom in on this timeline and really see a specific instance in your video or a specific little portion, you're going to use the plus key. So if I hit the plus key, it's going to start zooming in, and it's going to start zooming in exactly where my playhead is. So as you can see, it's centering that blue line. And if I hit the plus key again, it zooms in. See the numbers at the top of the timeline. Now the numbers at the top of the timeline are far more precise. Now I can see 14 minutes, 16 minutes. If I hit the plus key again, now I've got it by 30-second increments, and I can keep hitting the plus key and it's going to zoom in. And now when I click and drag that playhead, it's giving me a much more precise time. I'm able to scrub through a smaller portion of the video. And again, I can hit the play button or the space bar and it starts playing, and space bar again to get it to stop. And so those are two of the main shortcut keys. Now the last main shortcut key I want to show you really quickly is the one we use to edit, and that is the S key. But it can also, as there are many ways to do things in Premiere Rush, you can also access the same tool with this pair of scissors right here that says split your clip. And it even shows you what the shortcut is, so that's nice. So let's say right here, I want to cut out just this portion of audio that says let's say maybe we're in a time where now maybe we're not using Yuja as much. I don't want to mention Yuja in this video. So I could tell, okay, right there about is when that sentence ends. And I have my playhead located right where I want to make a cut. So the cut's going to happen where that playhead is. Make sure your playhead is exactly at that point. And now the S key is like our scissors, and we're going to cut it. And now, as you can see, we have two separate clips. When I click on each of these clips, it highlights them independently. And the clip with the orange on it is the clip that you're currently affecting. But I haven't cut anything out. All I did was take my long piece of footage and cut it into two. So now what I'm going to do is I remember approximately where I wanted to cut that first piece. It was right here. So I'm going to hit play. That's where I want. I'm going to take my playhead, get it right before the word Yuja. I'm going to hit the S key again. And now all of a sudden I have three clips. I have these two clips that I want in my video, and I have this one clip that I don't want. And then all you have to do is hit the delete key. So I'm going to hit delete, and it's gone. And now when I take my playhead and move it back and play my video, and that clip is gone. So that's why the S key is the most important key you're going to want to use. And you can use that for trimming the beginnings of your video too. So if I click over here, put my playhead at the beginning, there are two ways I can trim the beginning of my video. I can either use that S key again and split this clip and delete the beginning, or I can grab, if I hover my mouse near the end of any clip, I can click and hold and drag it. So again, multiple ways to do any of your basic edits in Premiere Rush. And I could keep going. There's so much more I could talk about, but I do want to make sure we have time for breakout rooms. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to maybe trim the beginning or trim the end of my video really quickly. So plus zooms in on the playhead. If you need to really quickly navigate around your video, just click and your playhead will follow your mouse. And then hit the plus key. Let's say this is where I wanted to trim. I can position my playhead, hit the S key, and delete it. So let's say that's all I wanted to do with this video. I'm happy. I cut out the little bit of information I didn't want in. I trimmed the beginning and endings of my video. And now the last thing I do is go up and hit the share button, which opens up my panel. I want to save locally. That's perfect. I don't want to instantly publish this to YouTube or Facebook. I want to keep it at the default. I am going to call this, let's see, what was that date? That was the 12th. I'm going to call this August 12 workshop. I want to save it. I'm going to save it in the folder I created right here for this video. Now, this looks really big. It says the estimated file size is a lot of megabytes, and that's probably because Zoom records 4K when you're sharing your screen. So if I click this down caret, I can see it wants to export a 4K video. I don't need that. I do not need a 4K video to share to our YouTube or our user. That's way more than necessary. So I'm just going to change the resolution down to 1080 or 720. All of a sudden, okay, that sounds like a better size. And now I'm just going to hit export. And now it's starting to save, and it's going to show me this progress bar. So then it'll probably take, 10 minutes or so. Oh, 15 minutes, 16, even tells you approximately, and you'll see that time kind of fluctuate depending on if it gets to a part of a video that's really easy to render, or it gets to a part of a video where you've maybe added a lot of edits or added a lot of graphics. So I'm going to stop sharing because I know we can continue working in Adobe Premiere Rush in our breakout rooms. And I've already gone way over time. So I'm going to stop right now and turn it over to Megan to start our breakout rooms going.
All right. Now, thank you so much, Natalie, for that very informative session. So I am going to start our presentation here. So thank you again for coming to today's session. We're going to follow up with the breakout session. If you have any more questions after today's workshop, please schedule a DTI office hour appointment with Natalie. Her office hour is from 2 to 3 on Tuesday or 10 to 11 on Friday. And you can click on this link to schedule a meeting.